We are here to bring you everything and anything surrounding Porsche. I'm Mike.
I'm Aaron.
And this is P-Car Talk.
Hello, everyone. Before we get started, I just wanted to say it's a little different change of pace for us. We were getting interviewed by RennEleven, a.k.a. Sean, for Instagram live stream. So it was good. We enjoyed it, and we hope you will too. Here we go.
Hello and welcome again. I'm Sean and you're watching RennEleven Live. In a moment, we're going to be interviewing Mike and Aaron from P-Car Talk. We're going to be here for a little bit, so you may as well get some alcohol down you. I know I will be. A little bit of an update. If you hadn't heard or seen, or you can tell, I'm back at my 911, which is fantastic news. It was in for paint with Colourcraft, those legends that are over Wellingborough way. If you have any sort of paint that needs doing on cars and you're in that kind of area, bell them up. They're awesome. Okay, so without much further ado, they should be here. Yes, they are. I'm getting them on. As said, any questions you have, please feel free to type them in below in the little question mark, and we will get them up and running and answer them. Wicked. Look at this.
Motherfucker.
That mustache.
What's up,
My mustache. Look at that beard. It's beautifully shaped there. How you doing,
It
Aaron?
is.
How you doing, Mike? You
Doing
both
well.
good?
How are you?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. This is the first time I've actually interviewed two people at the same time. It's like an audible menage a trois.
Menage a trois.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a three-way.
It is it's a fatal three-way. How many have you got your drinks with you as well? I know it's only 3 p.m., but hopefully you're on it already.
Yeah, we're actually hydrating. We drank like 3 or 4 bottles of whiskey last night.
Happy belated 4th of July again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. A couple of things, I suppose, or to start, really. For those that are unfamiliar, and you should be ashamed of yourselves, but those who are unfamiliar, tell us a little bit about P-Car Talk.
I always talk a lot, so I'll let Aaron go ahead.
He's right, you know.
No, he's not. Yeah,
I monopolize the podcast, so I'll flip roles for a second.
He's a
outsource.
So I'll give you the background on how everything got started for us. It was mainly a phone conversation, us listening to podcasts and not really finding a Porsche specific type thing we wanted to listen to. It was kind of Porsche mixed with other things, and which was okay, but we wanted something. All right, Porsche news. Didn't matter what it was, just kind of get that fix in there. We can listen to it at work or whatever we were doing. Didn't have to really pay attention too much. If we wanted to, we could. Still, interesting, that type of thing. And he asked if there was something, and I was like, I don't think so. And I asked him if he'd heard anything. No. So that was kind of let's get it started. And Mike was like, all right.
Yeah.
there wasn't any like, I don't know, should we do this? Should we not do it? Okay.
Yeah, it's just slippery slope after that.
Like a month later, we're in. And I already had some of the stuff, so that it started happening, and we go, okay, let's try this. First few episodes, they were a little straight laced, I guess, little kind of like all our notes were like note for note, and now it's a ton better as far as getting to know Mike and Mike getting to know me. That helps.
Yeah, the flow is a lot better. Yeah. Obviously, like anything from the start, you start to spend more time together. You start to learn each other, like dynamics off, I guess, camera and mic, and then it kind of translates well when you get back on, because then you have that friendship dynamic as well as like a professional type of thing going on. So it works out really well. We've gotten a lot closer over the last year and a half since we started too, because of that. I mean, because we want to do well, and we are covering a lot of the same stuff when we go to have guests or we go to events anyways. So you start to build all those relationships, and you start to get, you spend so much vacation time together, and you start to,
once you share a tent with them.
Yeah, you start to, there's like a brotherhood. It starts, almost a lot of, there's a lot of camaraderie there. So it's kind of like we screw around with each other a lot. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, we have similar backgrounds too, so that helps.
Well, yeah, exactly. I was just going to touch upon that because it's not very well known, but I've been an avid listener pretty much. I think I started listening when episode 4 kicked in, but then I backtracked and listened to the first 3 episodes. Yeah, so I was one of the, pretty much from the start, I'd say. And I remember you talking about you've both served in the military separately. But it's interesting that you had that in the background as well. And there's a lot of ex-military, ex-services that kind of find their way into the Porsche scene as such. Me being a former as well. And it's quite interesting that you kind of found each other, even though at the start you didn't really like from what... Because Aaron used to drive a BMW back in the day, an E36, was it?
I had that E36. I had an E46. I had a couple of BMWs. I had a 944 back in the day that caught on fire, but so that kind of ruined my Porsche experience for a little bit.
But it's nice to see that you're not as misguided anymore. So that's positive.
Yeah, exactly right.
Sold all the BMWs, don't own one. So
he leveled up.
Oh, completely. But that's the thing, a lot of people think you've probably been together for a lot longer, working together at least. But it's not been that long. About 2.5 years maybe? You've known each other, if that?
Yeah, 2.5 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty much.
Yeah, we've known each other about a year prior to the whole, podcast thing, and then we just kind of went after it. Just like anything, I'm sure, with RennEleven, your growth that you've seen, it just kind of starts, with like a little thing, and then it starts to snowball, and you're like, oh, hey, I can do this, I can do that, and it just kind of opens your mind to, you're like, oh, I can start doing all these additional things as well. And, when you first start, you don't even realize it. And I know you and I have talked offline a lot about it. It was like, it's cool to just start doing it. Everybody, out there, and this isn't like a motivational speech or anything, but just start it. You'll figure your way. If you want to do something, just start it out, and don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about, you'll figure it out. You'll get better as time goes on. I encourage anybody who's passionate or anything out there that they want to do, regardless of what it is. It doesn't necessarily have to make you money or monetary, but if it makes you happy and you just want to do it, and you want to put some positive energy out in the world, like knock it out and do it,
Completely. And that's the thing, you kind of end up not even finding your voice, but finding a way to get your voice heard in a more comfortable way after you've done it a few times. Like you said at the start, I didn't. I'll be honest, and this is not me brown nosing, because I don't really like either of you. But at the start, you were really, it felt like you were just quite relaxed with each other, and I love the dynamic of Aaron kind of sometimes coming up with a solution to something, and not outsmarting you, but kind of putting you in your place very politely.
Yeah.
But it just seemed natural. And as you say, though, that natural ability and comfort comes through once you're comfortable as such, expressing whatever you want to express. It's wonderful to
Absolutely.
hear. And
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's what kind of makes PCAR Talk for me a really easy to get into podcast, because it just feels like two lads chatting.
And that was pretty much our game plan from the beginning. That's what we wanted. You'd be that third friend that just sitting at the same table.
And I think the cool thing is, obviously, we're passionate about Porsche. But you and I, we all have come from different, we weren't have that silver spoon, all of us. We started in either, JDM or Euro type stuff, or like you're working your way through cars as you progress as an adult. And some people are more fortunate than others, and some people can step right into Porsche when they start driving. Our story, obviously, when we were much younger, that was not even a car that was in my realm of possibility in my mind.
It was on Top Gear, but that was about it.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, those are cool. They're badass, but I'm not going to be able to afford that. So I might as well just work on this Civic that I have here and be happy that I have this.
Exactly.
Like kind of attitude. But as life changes, you go to schooling, and you progress through life, and you start making, obtaining jobs and doing things, and things start to become more possible, I guess. And you're like, oh, hey, I didn't even, you asked me 10 years ago, I still didn't think I'd be in a Porsche, but here I am, right?
Not two, remember. I know you're in two of them as well.
Almost another one.
Yeah.
just stop yourself, for God's sake, Mike. What's going on?
Yeah, it's addictive, man. All right,
it is addictive. To be fair, I shouldn't say this on camera, but I'm already planning number 2 of what it's going to be.
I think it's just Yeah, I think it's just a natural thing. And you know, it's kind of weird because I've had that debate, you know, with Bart Bookins too, where there's a couple different theories behind it. I think, you know, you have a bunch and then maybe you scale down after you have them. I don't know what this perfect scenario is, but honestly, at the end of the day, if you only have one, you become really familiar with that one, right? And it becomes like a glove to you.
Yeah.
And there's also another, you know, school of thought behind that too, which I also do agree with, because if that's your everything Porsche, that you're going to do everything with it, that's actually good, because you're using the hell out of it and you're using it for everything. You're running to the store with it. You're going to hang out with meets with it. You're going enthusiast driving with it. There's something to be said for that too, because that guy's getting a lot more seat time than I am in either one of my cars. So, guy or girl. So, I mean, I think that's a cool thing as well. And I just, that's the problem. I'm not content with just one is the issue.
Got to catch
it
them
keeps
all,
me
man.
hungry though, right? That's a good thing, is it keeps me hungry, because obviously I don't have the bankroll to have everything. So, you know, you got to kind of either mix and match, get rid of something, or make moves to make things happen, or save up, or whatever, right? Or grind harder and try to make more money, or do something, right? Something that's pushing you, you know, to obtain those goals.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you can to kind of chase it and obtain it is what it is. But like you say, it's that kind of drive as well that makes it more fun. You know, it's like an achievement almost. You know, achievement.
Of course, exactly. Yeah, you level up and you're like, wow, that was this is everything I thought it was going to be. You know, when you get it or something like that. I remember when you first bought your 996, I was so happy for you, man, because I remember when you told me that you were even just, you had your eye on that particular car, and you're like, I think there's going to be an opportunity for me to buy this car. And I'm like, dude, you need to do it. You need to move mountains if you need to, for you to do it. And even if it's a stretch, you'll be so happy that you stretch to do it. You know?
Yeah. You know, it was worth it.
Yeah.
The dialysis every night is completely worth it. I didn't need that kidney. It's fine.
Exactly, right?
But
drink a couple less beers. That's all.
No, I like living life on the edge. You know, there's not much I can do in the bang middle of the UK, where I'm furthest away from the sea in loads of flatlands. So I may as well just drink myself into a frenzy. So, and it's interesting. You know, like going back to that. You know, you get into the Porsche community, and for me, I don't know if it rings true for you, but it probably does, because hey, we kind of create a community with what we do. Wherever, if that's a podcast, that's YouTube, if that's on Instagram, whatever. But the Porsche community is perhaps the most, in general, the nicest, most open, most comfortable, most relaxed car community I think I've ever been a part of. And it's incredibly welcoming.
I agree with that. And you and I talked about that even when you were, you know, on the edge, you were flirting with still entering into the community. And I was like, hey, it's basically all of those other things without the negativity when you're at these events.
And I think everybody works hard at that too, because they don't want a stereotype of being pretentious or any of the other things on the outside from somebody that's not a owner in that community sees or portrays.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Well, we're clearly not pretentious. I mean, look at us. The majority of us owners, I mean, we've got, Flat Six Rebel here, and we all kind of dress like we should have, skateboards on us. And
exactly, right.
We bowl around like we're still like 18, 19 years of age. We should know better.
But I think also it's welcoming too, right? Like, because if you're all dudded up and you got your Oxfords on and you're going to a meet, it doesn't show like you're relaxed, and nothing wrong with that outfit, but it's supposed to be a relaxing atmosphere. It's almost kind of like if you go to the beach, you're not going to go like wear a 3-piece suit to the beach. You should wear flip-flops and a bathing suit. Like, you should just you're going to chill with friends and meet people and relax.
I hear that. Yeah, completely. But this is another thing about the community as well. What the enticing thing about it is, I think we just touched upon it a bit now, but going into it more, how everyone's so easily wants to invite you in. You know, they're just like, yeah, come and try the car. Yeah, come and sit with us. Yeah. Let's talk about the car. You know, let's whatever. And it's almost like we want more people to kind of get doctrinated.
Everybody's a salesman.
Trying to build that army, man.
We are. You know, but you know, if we take upon like looking at the Euro scene, I've come from the Volkswagen scene, and although there's some older folks who are heavily involved and they've been doing it since they were kids, you have people like Jay Mack, who's part of Players. You're probably familiar with them, and Carl Taylor. Then you have the Edition 38 lot who've been doing it for donkey's years, and funny enough, their show's about a mile up the road from where I live. And I think AD is on here now. He's watching, bless him. He's one of the members on there too. And, you know, they're great and they've got nice, small, comfortable clicks, but it's still very much a clicky atmosphere. And you've got a lot of young kids who finally get into a Golf or, for you, a Jetta, I suppose, or something more affordable. And there's a lot of little clicks within everything. And you don't have... I've not found groups wanting to work together. Like, you know, your P-Car Talk, I'm RennEleven, but it's like, that's cool. Let's fucking do shit together.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Like, let's help promote each other. Yeah, that like I agree with that. We have the same problem in the US too with our car meets. Like when it's cross-pollinated, you see the same thing. Like people will click up. All right, you're already friends. You drove to the meet together, and you're only talking to each other. It's like, dude, you didn't have to
could have done this
anywhere. Like, go talk to some people, man. Like, and I don't know if it's just the way I think that dynamic works, because it almost kind of feels like that's the grain there. Like, and to go against the grain would be to go around and try to talk to people and try to like reach out to other people. Like, it's almost the culture that's within that culture.
Yeah. What's crazy, I just thought about this. Like, our friend group, like Mike and I, is probably the most diverse group that like shows up to one of our local cars and coffees. As far as like, it's Mazda, it's Porsche, it's Mercedes, it's BMW, it's and we're a friend group, which is kind of weird. I know.
Yeah.
It's okay, it's possible.
But it's another thing as well. I'm completely comfortable liking all cars. I love them. You know, I've we've got a Golf R as a daily for the moment. I've had, you know, mate, I'll tell you, that's the easiest car to drive fast. You know, but it does. Although you feel connected, it does feel kind of like you're playing a like Gran Turismo or Forza or something like that. Maybe I'd probably be on track a little bit more often than coming off the track so often, like when we play.
There you go.
But you know, I appreciate everything. I still love Hondas. I have, of course. You know, I appreciate Fords. You know, I know it's in America. You shouldn't, especially the Porsche scene. Everyone looks at people with Camaros and Mustangs with sort of gritted teeth and like, but I still think they're cool. You know, I still like them.
No, I do too. I appreciate all of the groups, and that's the thing is like, because I've had almost every different kind of make and model of, you know, prior to a Porsche or anything like that. And is Porsche always the answer and always the best car? I mean, who knows? To each their own. No, that's not the right answer. You know, maybe whatever works for you. But I agree, circling back to what you're saying as far as the community goes, once you are even flirting with trying to do it, I think it's very welcoming. And if you're one of those people who enjoys camaraderie, you're going to really gravitate towards Porsche because of that, because there is a lot of camaraderie. And it also helps that there's a lot of events surrounding Porsche as well, because it's, you know, even all of the shows, all of the stuff. You wouldn't think, you know, and I guess they're kind of a niche brand if you think about it. Granted, they've sold higher volumes of cars than, I don't know, a Lamborghini or Ferrari, but it's still a very smaller volume car that it's sold compared to a Volkswagen group or any of those other groups, or a Ford or whatever. Those groups, hundreds of thousands of cars where they can get together and they can do these things. But Porsche people come out strong when there's an event because they want to support the event, because they know if they don't show, then the event's not going to last.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, people come far and wide for events. Bloody hell, me, Rob, Richard, his
guys all
wife
come
and
over the
daughter.
UK,
They, you know, we all came over because, you know, well, to be fair, I wanted to see if I can get into the drug trade, and it failed very miserably in Miami. However, on the plus side, I did find out those little coffees, what they're called, cafecitas.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Those are good.
If anyone in the UK knows where to get a cafecita, please let me know, because that stuff is liquid crack. It's amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
But like you say,
one of those.
I want to go to DRT. I wanted to make it an annual thing for me because I love it. It's a great buzz, as you say.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose going backwards a little bit, what I want to try and sort of bounce about with you guys is what makes us as Porsche folk more relaxed about all the brands and all scenes versus, you know, a lot of other scenes where they tend to be a lot more clicky and sort of
I would
question.
I would say that's probably more of a contentment that we have a Porsche. I don't know. I mean, that's we like it.
Yeah.
We know that
a quiet confidence almost.
We've tried everything else. I'm not trying to race the guy next to me just because he's in whatever. I don't know. I'd say I think that's some of that. I mean, where like Mike was saying, if he's had everything else, then he's had the Porsche and kind of stop there. Then okay,
yeah,
but we can respect something that's built clean or did their own way, has their own type of effect on it. And it doesn't matter. I mean, it's not like we have to hate it because it's not a Porsche.
Yeah. No. I think a lot of it too, just because I've been in those groups and I've actually gone to events, obviously younger, and I'm sure a lot of people listening and watching have done the same thing. I think it is at the point where I think it's a part of contention as well. Like your goal, you wanted to get a Porsche, you have one now, right? Now it's not like, okay, you're already talking about a next one. So you're thinking about all these other things. It's not like, oh, I've just got that and I'm done. But now you've kind of gotten to the point where you're evolving your mind within the Porsche brand. And you're not even like hearing the white noise outside of Porsche, it seems like once you get in. Like once you're there, you're just kind of like, I'm good, man. I've got my 911. Hopefully I can get another one someday or whatever you want to get. And I'm not even looking outside the brand, because you feel comfortable. I guess you feel like you're at home. You feel like I've got the car that I need. As opposed to like when you're younger, let's all be honest. Like if I'm driving a Honda, I'm always trying to shoot up. I was like, man, someday maybe I can get a GTR. Then you get a GTR and you're like, oh my God, I have a GTR now. So maybe I can upgrade to something else, and whatever the fill in the blank. So you're always chasing the next upgrade or level up. But I feel like with Porsche, you're just trying to level up within Porsche. You're like, oh, I want to get a GT3 now. And it's like, instead of a next different car, I think that's kind of the theory behind it. I guess maybe that's why everybody's kind of calm and just collective.
Yeah, I agree. Now I've got the 996. It's not the most. I've got a C2, 300 horsepower. It should have been 300 horsepower from the factory. It's probably a little less now because of age and whatnot. But it's more than sufficient for me. It's got everything I would want in a car, and I'm like you say, content. Like Aaron mentioned, completely content in this vehicle, as it is. Maybe change a few more things on it, which I'm going in the middle of doing, but nothing like dramatic. I'm not going to stick like a bolt on a turbo or anything like that. I don't need to. I don't need to prove anything. For me, it's a feeling. It's like it is very much a feeling. When you drive this car and everything that incorporates as well. How important do you think it is then to own a Porsche and still be part of the community? Can you without a Porsche?
Of course, I think you can be. Like we know tons of people that don't own Porsches. Like Brandon, for example, he doesn't own a Porsche though. In Fort Lauderdale, he comes to all the Porsche stuff still. He goes to all the racing. Like I wish there were more people like that. Such a
good kid. I really like him.
He's such a good guy, and he's super knowledgeable. He does a lot of like racing, and it's one of those things. Just because you don't own it doesn't mean you're not going to own one someday, right? So I think it still would behoove you to still go to these events and still hang out with the crowds. And like, it's not like no one's going to talk to you because you don't have a Porsche. Clearly, that doesn't happen with Brandon. We're not like, don't come here because you don't have a Porsche.
Where's your keys?
Sorry, where's your Porsche? Oh,
exactly.
It's in Forza.
Exactly. Like nobody talks trash. Everybody's like, dude, well, when you do, like, what are you thinking about when you do want to get one? It's like, that's where that conversation goes now. And I think everybody who even has one still respects that because they're just like, oh, that's cool. You want to get whatever 911 or whatever Porsche that is, fill in the blank. And you want to see them get that car too. It's almost kind of like your friend obtaining their goals and like doing well or, doing what it needs to take to make that happen. And you're like, hell yeah, man, that's awesome that you told me 3 years ago you were going to buy that car, and then you bought it. Fine. You know, it's like, cool. Now you can ride with us too, even, you know, like when we go through the drives, you know, not just see you at the event. So,
yeah, it's very true, you know, and almost it becomes more of an interesting story about how you got there pre having it, you know, all the times you may have experienced something as a passenger or just as a viewer, seeing cars fly past or going to events and stuff like this.
I would say for anybody who's on that fence who feels like, well, it doesn't make sense for me to go to that because I don't own the car, or I think you're really selling yourself short by not participating in the community, even if you enjoy Porsche as a whole and even if you don't own one. Because honestly, I don't know what the percentage would be, but the only thing you're missing is basically the ownership part of it, not driving the car, which are big pieces, but you can participate in the social element of it, where you can go out to the events, you can see other cars, you can get ideas for maybe a car you want to build someday or whatever. So I think and then you can you already have friendships built, and then you have a car already. You don't need to start building relationships after you get the car. You already have them.
That's true. I mean, I kind of felt that anyway, because I started RennEleven before I had the 911, you know, and I still was made to feel welcome. I was still made to feel like very much part of it. But just for it coming from me may not mean much, but when there's more people saying exactly the same thing as I believe in, hopefully it will entice more people to come in and go, yeah, do you know what? I'll try this. Actually, I will get involved.
Yeah.
And you know, touching upon that as well, it feels like, and I remember you mentioned this, and the changing of the guard, I suppose, was the term you used, and it's starting to in the UK.
Okay.
And when I say the guard, I'm talking about what people may seem as the typical Porsche owner, you know, Porsche Motorsport jacket. Nothing bad about it. They are completely into the brand as such, but almost old money. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You know, maybe the if you want to be, you know, we'll be nice and call them the veterans of the Porsche scene, maybe.
Yeah, I think
the
so.
senior tour.
Yeah, yeah, you know, they're like the Rolling Stones, where
exactly
we're kind of
still
like
touring, bro. Still getting
direction.
after it.
Maybe with a bit more facial hair.
Exactly right.
Yeah, but in America, in the US, I've noticed as well when I was out there and through various social media outlets, it feels like there is a real continuation of how we used to mess about with cars, with you know, JDM stuff, Hondas, Nissans, Mitsubishis, and also the Euro scene with VWs and BMWs, and just continuing that kind of level of customization and that level of messing around with cars, but in Porsche now. You know, how have you seen that affect the veterans within the scene, and has that changed them at all, or has that made them more challenging, or what?
I don't know that they've adapted to that. I think they're still doing. I mean, Mike and I kind of had this conversation about this purist, I guess, type sense, and I guess from my perspective, I'm okay with it. If you want to keep it as stock as it was from the factory, same type, whatever you want to, you know, as much as you want to be. But my view on that is, there's a museum. They have all the perfection there you could possibly want to see. You can go visit anytime. But
those are the real blue chip cars.
They are
at the museum.
And
those matching numbers.
Really, exactly. Serial number 0, or maybe a prototype of the car. Are you really enjoying the car to its fullest? Because yes, the car is good, but it's been 30 years. There's technology that's happened. You can deviate from the plan a little bit and maybe have, you know, 10x the fun.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a shame, and I've seen it both ways, to be honest with you, Sean. I've seen there are Porsche veterans that are welcoming to the new people to the community that do like to do the mods and all that kind of stuff, and they're adapting to those new folks. And then I'm also seeing it where people aren't adapting to, where they want to do their own thing, which is also fair. But I think with even in the community, and this is going to contradict what we talked about earlier about unifying and being welcoming and all that kind of stuff, because there is a little bit of divide when there is an event, and it's, everybody's all welcoming and no one's like openly nasty with each other, but you can tell that those people just keep themselves. Like they don't want to screw around and like look at the modified cars. Like they don't even stop. They keep walking by because they're just like, they don't get it, or they think we don't get it. One of the two. So there's just no communication that's happening there.
Both sides.
But what's happening at those events is they're being phased out. And what I mean by that is each time, each calendar year that event, whatever it may be, rolls over, there's more people like us and less people like them. And I don't know if that's just a purely an age thing, because maybe they just can't make it, or if they're just phasing off the earth. I don't know what's happening there, but either way, and it kind of makes me a little sad though, because and I agree with, it's your car, you get to do whatever you want, and I do talk shit, but I have fun, and it's all in fun. There's no negativity when I'm like, hey, you're wiping your car with a diaper, like, dude, like, you got to still drive it home too, like, like, I'm just joking around, because I guess for me the fun part of it is getting together with my friends and driving, right? Like, yes. The events are cool, but it's basically just an area for us to talk about where we're going to go later, or drive, or whatever. It's just an excuse to go somewhere and maybe see some other cars that you don't see that often. And it's like, all right, cool, let's get out of here and go for a drive. So rarely do we ever go to an event. We stay the entire time. And if you are trapped at the event the entire time, I make sure that I'm not parked inside the event, so I can leave when I want to leave, so I can go drive. Because most of the time, again, there's a conversation of, let's just go drive somewhere. And I think for me, I know everybody, and even outside of Porsche, there's just people who are like to collect, whether they're trinkets, your thing is to collect stamps or whatever it is. And I feel like people do that with cars too, and people are doing that with Porsches, where they just want to acquire a bunch of them, but they don't want to drive. So you're more of I would call them collectors, not enthusiasts, because you're just enthusiastic about collecting. You're not really enthusiastic about driving, essentially.
Do you think that those collectors may have inadvertently diluted the community then in some effect? Because, from as far as I can remember, I've seen Porsches that were modified even back when they weren't worth much. If we talk about the 80s, there were how many SCs and how many long noses that were converted to flat nose cars.
And those same groups of people we were talking about still bastardize those people too for doing that back in the 80s. But those people who did that stuff back when it was relevant and in the 80s, those are the people that have adapted today to us, because they see a lot of us in them. When they were young, you're like, I used to do that to 911s when I was your age, and I had an 80s 911 in the 80s.
And that's the thing, this is not something new. It's not. People haven't just started thinking, well, I've run out of regular Euro shit boxes to fuck up, so what am I going to look at now? Yes, okay,
exactly.
Porsche, get in there.
Exactly.
It's not
like,
that.
I'm going to put air ride on this and dump it on its ass, and then everyone's going to hate me, and it's going to be a hot boy car, and I'm going to love it.
Yeah, I'm going to get so many likes. Girls are going to love me. And all
exactly.
They get it's like having a beard, isn't it? And Aaron knows exactly what I mean. You get a beard,
nice
and you
beard,
think, I'm going to look, dashing, and then suddenly you just get all these guys going, man, that's an amazing beard. And you're like, okay,
exactly.
I have a girlfriend. I'm really sorry.
Exactly.
This is hugely awkward now. But it's not a new thing. Modification is not a new thing. Even way, way, way back, the whole point of having a 356 was to have a car that you can use daily, and at the weekend you can take it to the track, which meant you were able to kind of faff about with it to make it track ready for the day, and then finish with it, raise it up, or do whatever you need to, and drive back. So these collectors, do you think they may have caused this almost friction with the whole? Oh, we've got to have matching numbers. We've got to ensure there's the original paint. We've got to, make sure that those are the correct indicators. Everything. Have they caused that friction?
I think indirectly, yeah. I think there is some there, and I think it's back to maybe there's some type of disorder going on there. Not trying to get deep into that, but how it is. Some people are very OCD about things, where it's kind of want everything perfect. It has to be this way. It has to be the way it left. And to each their own. If that's what your game is, okay, cool. But I do think, circling back to your question, I do think possibly, indirectly, I'm sure they didn't set out to do that, but I think it does. It's almost, and I hate using this word, but I'm going to use it. It's more kind of feels like those people feel like they're the elitist in the Porsche group. Like when you go to do these events and they're like, my 87 Carrera is like bone stock and doesn't have anything done to it, and it's got 13,000 original miles, and I'm the original owner, and there's not a speck of dust on it, and everything's in working order just like it was. And I take it out on a Sunday when there's no one on the road, so I can't get any.
It's never been rained on.
And I shift before 5,000 RPMs because I don't want to stress the motor, and it's just yada yada yada. You see where this is going, and it's kind of like Jesus Christ, man. Like, dude, this thing is. Even if it is a special car, which it's not, but it's special to them, I get that. But enjoy it, man. Are you really enjoying ownership by being that meticulous? I almost feel like you're driving yourself even more nuts, trying to be like overly, even though you're already nuts, but you're making yourself more nuts with your car. It's almost kind of like sell the damn thing. Like it's driving you absolutely crazy.
Bring out the worst in people. It's bringing out the worst in them, fundamentally, if you consider it. And that's a shame because the whole point of being car enthusiast is it's supposed to be fun, enthusiastic.
Yeah, you're supposed to be doing that with your fun time, not being like, holy shit, I got to get the right box screws because if I show up at this event, I'm going to get knocked off for that. Like my attitude towards, I was like, fuck that, man. Like whatever. It's like, don't judge my car then. Like keep rolling. Like don't even ask me what's done to my car. The list is too much. I'm not going to get judged properly at your little show anyways. I'm just there to hang out with some friends, see some other cars, keep it super chill. I'll be drinking in the corner. Holler at me when you get done.
So what's your offset in your...
Yeah, exactly. But I wish it was more that, and unfortunately there are events where it does get like, sometimes it is hoity-toity sometimes, but for the most of the time, it is pretty chill. You just find the people that are the chill people. And
I would say we're still seeing a bunch of stuff from, Pebble and Amelia are still giant events, and the other concours, and they're still that. They've had a prominence for so long. I think there's still some spill off from that. Those type of people, they get into Porsche, and they think that, okay, well, that's what I'm used to, or that's what I'm going to see, so I need to keep it like that. I'll drive 17 miles, but I'll put it on the trailer.
But it's something touching upon Amelia. There was a red 930 turbo on. It looked either heavily polished or chromed Fuchs with a GT2 style rear spoiler, and that car was sick. It sounded dirty. It was brilliant. It was classic. And from what I put that up as a video. Someone put it up. I think it may have been DC told me who the actual owner was as well, so I tagged him in it. And DC's a dude who's got a really nice GT3, 997 GT3. You'll love it. And
burns continue.
You just got burned from the UK.
Overseas.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, DC. They forced me to say it. And the amount of hate that car got, funny enough, and I was just thinking, are you kidding me? The whole point of it was how it would have been modified in its period, almost like in the 80s, 90s, as such, if they were able to do it in that way. And I thought that was awesome. It's such a great thought process, and it won.
Yeah,
was
I
it
agree.
Best modified, or I don't know.
I think it was best. I think their category was outlaw. Best outlaw.
Best outlaw. That was it.
Hodgepodged it in there with that. So they even let's touch on that for a little bit. So that event, they're starting to recognize, and that's the first time they even had an outlaw category. They're starting to realize that majority of the cars there are modified. So they almost made a category for it. I don't think, it wasn't on the fly, but they are starting to see the turnover where it's like, okay, there's not going to be any real bone stock ones with bias ply tires here for that category. So they're, we're fender flares and let's just make an outlaw class. And, I know some people look forward to that trophy crap, but at the end of the day, I think if you're chasing trophies and you're doing all that stuff. I feel like that's a thing of past. I feel like people, in the car world, that was such an older type of like motive to do. Like even when we were young, I remember like people go to car shows like, oh, I won a trophy for my Corvette or whatever, and it's like, dude, is that why you went to the thing, so you could win a trophy? Like, I don't know, man. I just never really understood that.
No, I agree. It takes the fun away. It takes the enthusiast kind of thing away.
Yeah, because now it's competitive, right? Now you're competing.
Yeah.
Instead of like hanging out, you're trying to compete with the people that are out there and you're trying to prove that your car's better than somebody else's car now. Like you turned a thing into my car's better than yours because I won a trophy. Like, not really, man. Your car sucks, and those guys who judged your car suck too. So
great. So your underside's completely clean.
Yeah,
well
exactly.
Done. Well done.
Awesome.
That's what the mirror is for.
You're running the exact same ride height that it came from the factory. It's running that ride height, jackass, because they had to deliver that car worldwide, and the roads are different everywhere. So they wanted to do the catch-all safe ride height for everyone so they can sell cars. That's why it's that way, dumbass. Educate yourself. Bring it down a little bit. Why do you think race cars are fucking slammed? There's a reason for it. Get the bitch down. Get it down on the ground.
Right? I was wondering if we were talking about lowering vehicles, if there was a certain someone like Drew around, and lo and behold, here he is. There goes the neighborhood.
The king of no wheel gap, huh?
No wheel gap. Team no wheel gap.
Team no wheel
gap.
I was no wheel gap before no wheel gap was there.
but this is it, it's great that cars. I've worked for a manufacturer. I've worked directly for a manufacturer, so I understand exactly what they have in their thought process, and they have to appeal to everyone. It's got to be blanket.
Absolutely.
If they want to appeal to a niche, they make a special edition. In which case, what Porsche do is take stuff away and then add loads of money onto it. And then, there we go.
You pay more for less.
Exactly. it's they're thieving bastards. That's not nice.
Exactly.
But at the same time, they have to appeal to everyone. So stock ride height will probably mean an inch and a half, 2 inches between arch and tire. It will mean that the engine is restrained. So everyone says, the engine is working perfectly. Yeah, but it's still within parameters. They have to produce a certain amount of CO2s. Even cars from back in the late 90s, early noughties, they still have these restraints. Cars in LA, Jesus, I mean, they've been having restraints since the 70s,
exactly. Choking them out.
Completely. And this is something that is kind of, dare I say it, it doesn't allow us to, or allow people to kind of live comfortably modifying cars that should be modified, because it's actually nice to help them. The cars breathe better, drive better. There you go. Just saw.
I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, but my story behind all that is always kind of like, I say stuff like, dude, keep them, it's like, keep them perfect. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't mod them. Don't drive them. So when I get it in the estate sale, when you're gone, I'm gonna bastardize the shit out of that thing. I was like, I will slam it on its nuts. We'll open it all the way up, and then that car is going to be living its best life that ever.
And I'm going to drive it naked as well, and not wash for days before.
Exactly.
Have a nice day.
Sticker bomb the shit out of it like some skateboard hoonigan. It's going to be it's going to be everywhere. It's like, damn, that guy really fucked that car up. Man, it only had 7,000 miles when he had on. He's like, dude, I put 7,000 miles on it last month.
And that's it. There should be more respect given for cars that are, we have very high performance cars, performance luxury cars. We don't. If we think about the original asking price of these vehicles, I'm sat in a originally £66,000 car. And it was a luxury item. Someone did really, really well in life to buy this when it was released. Same with your 964, same with your Turbo S, same with your 997, Aaron. And then we're here kind of enjoying it as much as possible, but we have to. There should be more credit given to those who are like, hey, do you know what? I don't want to go for a low mileage car. That car's been looked after because it's been driven hard and it's still going.
Yeah.
It's 150,000 miles. But those miles are, that's someone really enjoying the car to its full potential. Give credit to them. They should be the ones commanding more money.
I absolutely agree with it. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I mean, at the end of the day, right, from an engineering aspect, like anything, I always get, it's like a bugaboo of mine where somebody asks just arbitrarily. It's almost kind of like asking modern day, like, what's your 0 to 60? It's like, it doesn't even matter. Like, where I'm going with this is, what's the mileage? What does it matter what the mileage is on the car? It's here. It drove here. It runs fine. Who cares if it has 200,000 miles on it? It's a piece of machinery. It's supposed to be used. It's not supposed to be locked in a cabinet to never use. Like, it will perform worse not being used.
Exactly. I had this conversation with Vix earlier. So I've had to give back my company car for my business. I don't work with them, so I'm giving that back. And I'm going tomorrow to see a friend of mine, and he lives about an hour tops from me. Mm-hmm. And she was asking if I wanted to take the Golf, and I was like, I'll take the Porsche. And she's like, why? It's like, it's got wheels. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Got an engine. Why not? Just drive it. But I want to drive it more.
Exactly.
It's a dailyable premium sports car, even 21 years on. The 964.
Yep.
Dare I say, I bet you could probably daily that. It would probably need a lot more work, but to keep it up. But who cares? You'd still be able to drive
some earplugs.
Yeah, earplugs. Yeah, you're definitely going to go deaf over time. But yeah, I totally agree with it. And I've been driving the shit out of the Turbo S. I mean, to the point of where it is almost kind of like a daily, even though I have a daily. Like, if I'm the same way. If I have an opportunity to take it, I just take the Turbo S now, and I just pop around it.
Couple Mercedes found out how quick it was last few nights ago.
but that's the thing. You probably got the perfect dailyable supercar. The 996 Turbo, let alone the Turbo S, especially with all the added parts that yours has, was famous for being able to be driven really, really hard. And even currently, you can drive it hard at the track, drive it home, and nothing's going to fall off. Nothing's going to break. It's going to remain good. I mean, obviously, you have to look after it. You've got to, what's the word? You keep up to date with servicing and everything,
proper maintenance, everything like that.
But I think it was
absolutely.
I think it was one of your. Who was the gent? He had a 996 Turbo, and he also had a GTR, but he would never take the GTR on the track because the GTR, notoriously, the gearbox would probably pack in.
Yeah,
was that Wes? Was that Wes Bourne? No.
Yeah,
it was.
I think so. Yeah,
we had it was that conversation back in last year, and to me that just made me think. It's all well and good having a car that you can boast to your friends about. Well, this is the fastest accelerating car in the world, one of the fastest, under 100,000 pounds. But it's all well and good until something goes wrong, and then you're left. Well, that is 30,000 pounds, sir. Have a nice day. Go fuck
exactly.
Yourself.
Exactly. You're just like, oh shit. Yeah, I mean, Porsche, and for the people who don't know, I mean, that's Porsche's what their bread and butter was from the very dawn of time when they built their cars for public, consumption. It was one of those things where that's what their brag was. It's like, hey, you buy this car, you can race it on the weekends, go have fun around the track, and this will also take you to work on Monday morning because we believe in our products are that reliable. And, not a whole lot of higher level brands can say that same thing because they don't, they're caught up in the rat race. They make these pretty cars and there's, they're great and they sound great, but can you go beat on it all day in a track and then take it home? They're like, oh my God, you can't do it to a Ferrari. Why would you do that? Like, oh my God, like you can't treat that car like that. And you're like, why can't you? Like, because they'll break. And I'm like, well, what's the point then?
Exactly. And you tend to find those owners are a bit more meticulous on things, but probably because they're extremely fearful of what could, imagine it being a McLaren owner these days.
Oh God. Yeah.
Dreadful.
They're going to have a lot of them just sitting around in places is what I think we're going to see someday with McLaren. It's like, wow, they're cool looking, but you don't want to. It doesn't go anywhere.
I just can't wait to get a 12C for 20K.
Yeah,
It's gonna happen.
that day will happen, and then you'll be lucky to get it down the road without
Exactly.
it like grenading.
40,000 electronics.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for some reason it won't turn on.
We've got some questions from a few folks.
Okay.
I've got a question. Oh, I've got 4 here actually. Okay, so first question is from the Ed Lawrence. And our friend from Atlanta, lovely dude. So he asks, and I think this is more for well, to be fair, it's all of us, because you've got a little bit of facial fuzz now. It's nice. It's very cute, by the way, Mike.
I like to keep mine streamlined. I'm pretty active. I can't get it hung up in anything.
Pretty active. Are you trying to say we're fat and obese?
Hey, I did not say that.
He swims a lot. Trying to keep it.
Whatever, man.
Yeah.
How can I grow a beautiful man beard? So, Aaron, how can you grow a beautiful man beard?
A lot of beard products, combing, brushing, a little bit of just meditating on growth.
Meditating. Do you actually put beard products on?
No, I have a couple, but I don't normally do it. I just comb it, brush it.
Yeah, there you go. Brush and go. That's how you do it.
You use like horses shampoo in it.
Oh yeah, the mane and tail or whatever.
Yeah, mane and tail shampoo for horses.
No.
Is that stuff that has kind of like the basis of like horse semen, like taurine and stuff in it?
Probably.
Nice.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Mike's expert.
I actually just shower with that. I don't know. It's good for your skin. That's what I'm told.
What was the name of that thing from Anchorman? Sex Panther.
Yeah, Sex Panther. Yeah,
65% of the time works every time.
Yeah, that too. Sounds like pure gasoline.
Quality. Okay, so we've got a great question here from Wistful Philosopher, and he says, "Dream Porsche, Dream Brute, and Dream Shotgun Seat individual." So let's go with Aaron first.
Ooh, let's see. Dream Porsche. Probably one of the 917s, whatever livery. I mean, that would probably be. I want to go race car.
There's that silver one that me and Mike saw last year.
There's no limit.
Yeah.
The road going one.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cat car stick. Anyways. Cool.
Dream route. There's a road in I think it's the Ukraine, maybe the Ukraine somewhere. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but we'll just call it Stelvio or one of the traditional.
Okay.
Something over
the Ukraine. I want to drive in Chernobyl because why not?
Really mix it up.
Well, and then radiation.
Zombies.
With Gorbachev.
Zombies on my track.
Okay. Okay.
And then passenger. What beside me? Derek Bell comes to mind. I don't know why. I think he'd be interesting.
I'd feel really nervous because every input I put in, I'd be thinking, does he think I'm driving like a dickhead?
I've had race car drivers sit next to me while I'm driving on road trips, and it's definitely it's like great. They're analyzing everything. Oh, am I not driving fast enough?
Oh,
it's snowing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd feel really, really awkward around him. That and him being devilishly handsome, as he is, still like 80 odd. The fair play. Okay, cool. 917 with Derek Bell. Bless you. Mike?
I would probably go with like a Kramer car, like a K3, like 935, something like that. Liveried up. I just love the way they sound, big fireballs coming out of them. They dominated so much during the 70s and the 80s. It's just a cool icon for me. I think I would love to just drive that car, just to sit in it, and it would just be it makes all the right noises, it's just nuts.
You just come with a cocaine cubby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
cocaine, kilo storage where you can move it real fast from Miami if you need to. Dream route. I'm actually gonna probably pick like a closed track. Like something like really really cool, like just for me, not like a closed day for 8 guys, but just being uber selfish. Just by myself out there. Maybe like spa in that car by myself, all day long, and just a pit crew to change tires would be pretty much the dream. I think just to be able to go do something like that would just be sick. And then dream shotgun guy. Actually, I would probably do somebody more recent, just because I think he's a pretty fun guy to be around. I would say Nick Tandy, probably. And I think you'd have a hoot with him in the seat, and I think he'd be honest with you. You don't, that whole thing with, like you were saying, I'd be nervous with Derek Bell. I don't think I'd be nervous with him because I just know, Tandy's a great driver anyways, but he's going to tell you suck, or he's going to try to help you. He's going to be like, dude, you're fucking shifting like shit. Like, stop. You got to double clutch this. Whatever you got to do, you just would be straightforward about it instead of being like quiet. I think he would just like tell you how it is, and I think he'd have a hoot and a laugh too. So,
okay, good people, actually. Interesting choice of guys. Okay, next question. If I can find them. Okay. Oh Jesus, we've got a few here. What's your favourite episode of your podcast up until now? And this is from Casper High 996 Lab.
Okay.
I'll let you go.
Put me on the spot. Actually,
by the way, everyone who's listening, who's either been interviewed by you or knows the people you interviewed, are going to tell them, by the way, the one you did with Aaron and Mike was shit. They didn't like it. Just putting it out there now.
That was this one. I'll be lame. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I think for me, one of, like, to this date, I think one of the more memorable conversations, because we didn't really know them that well at the time, but our relationship and friendship has gained so much since then. I want to say it was probably like episode in the early, like 12, 13, something in that round, when we had Al on from DRT the very first time when we were at Amelia, and we were at our like beach house.
Oh, yeah, the beach house, yeah.
And he came on and we hung out there. I think that was it was a treat for us because we were very, very new to the game. And, Al has so much knowledge and he's been in Porsche for so long. And for him to like take the time to come over to our place to do it. And
brought the whole gang too.
It was just really, really cool, and it was such an organic conversation. And I just, from that, just doing the podcast, it gave us a lot of confidence as a team too, like moving forward with guests and not feeling too small for the moment. And it's helped us out tremendously just from a growth standpoint, because now, the people that we have on, we don't really, not that we ever did climb up, but you just don't know how you're going to react in those situations. And I think that helped break down our big barrier for us too. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the growth that we got out of it. And I enjoyed the message that we talked about during that episode. So I think that's probably my favorite one so far.
I remember you guys seemed really surprised that they actually listened to you. Yeah. I remember that. It was like, you know about us? Yeah, of course we know about it. We listened to you.
Yeah. So, it was very humbling because, you're throwing this stuff out there. And yeah, we get the data back, but we were really early on.
Yeah.
When they came up to us, I think we were only probably 6 weeks in when we ran into them at that DRT, and Jaime came up to us and was like, "Oh, you were the guys who do the podcast thing."
Jaime's amazing.
We're just like, "What? Wait a minute, you've heard our shitty episodes of like you
loved it, man.
So you're the guy who's downloading right now, the one. So you know what I mean? You're the one person." He's like, nah. But it was really, really humbling, and it was, a good confidence thing, to be like, there's people actually listening. Wow. Okay. Cool. Let's keep it going.
That's awesome.
But that's for me. What about you?
You have a minute to answer this before everything cuts out.
Okay.
I was gonna say probably Dr. Armbruster, and just because he's a German guy and he's on the floor. I mean,
yes,
it's cool to hear from an engineer on the inside.
The CEO of motorsports. That's a big one.
I think that was cool to really hear that they do things like when he was talking about hopping up that GT3 RS. That was the GT3R hybrid, but an extra couple hundred horsepower here and there. To know that those things happen.
Yeah, and then he has the time to sit with us.
Yeah,
lowly P-Car talk. You know, this guy's got shit to do, but he sat with us.
It links in, doesn't it? This is the whole point. You know, Porsche does things for enthusiasts like us, and it seems that they pay attention when the enthusiasts really come knocking. So, you know, you should pat yourselves on the back for kind of leading the way with this.
Thank you.
No, really, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate it. 5 seconds left. Much love, guys. It's been an honor.
Thanks for having us,
Thanks,
brother.
Sean.
Yep.
Anytime. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much.
Love you, bro.
Love you, man.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of P-Car Talk. Connect with us on Instagram at P-Car Talk or online at pcartalk.com.